Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this week's session or this week's webinar. Hope everybody out there who's joining is having a great day, and I hope everyone had a great weekend. So again, thank you to those who are joining us today. If this is your first time joining us, what we do every week on Monday on our Facebook page is we go live and just share some tips that can help you in your employment search. So whether it's resume building, interview tips, entrepreneurship, and more, we'd like to cover a wide variety of topics that will help you when it's time to look for a job and hopefully help you actually get that job. Um, One of the things that we love to do too is take Q&A. So if anyone has questions or has topics that they would like to see covered, please by all means send them our way. We love doing this and we want to make sure that we're helping out as much as we can. So for those who are joining for the first time, my name's Alexander Florio. I'm one of the co-founders of Swob. And so what we're trying to do with Swob is make finding jobs easy. We want to make sure that it's as effortless as possible and make sure that you have as many opportunities to apply to in your area, making sure that employers are able to find you and you're able to find and connect with these local employers. So if this is your first time joining, we like to keep these pretty straightforward. So about 15 to 20 minutes is a good length. And like I said, every week we like to cover a new topic. But for this week, one of the questions that we got asked was regarding sort of what to wear during an interview, hygiene, and what you should and shouldn't be wearing to a job interview. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is the importance of that and what it means to an employer when you show up to a job interview. So dressing in the right attire for an interview shows that you're serious about the job, but it's not only that, it shows that you're respectful of the interviewer's time and you're genuinely interested in the position. It demonstrates also that you have an understanding of the corporate culture or that workplace culture, and that you want to showcase yourself as somebody who would fit into that workplace, but also, you want to show that you're professional and eager to find or to be working with that employer. So it is really, really important. And I know it might seem obvious to most people that you shouldn't show up to an interview in jeans and a t-shirt, but it does happen. Many people do show up poorly dressed, have bad hygiene, and your first initial interaction with an employer during a job interview, that's what they're going to judge you on. So if you don't look good, you don't look the part, you don't have good hygiene, that first impression that the employer has of you is a negative one. And if you don't think that these employers are looking out for something like that, you better believe that they are. So they're judging you. That's what the point of a job interview is. And they're not necessarily only going to be judging you on your answers that you give during the interview. They're going to be judging you on your appearance, your attitude, your body language, which is really important. But the first thing that the employer sees is what you're wearing and how you look. So if you come with messy hair, you didn't shave, or you have a messy beard, for a man's case at least, it's not going to be a good sign for you. So again, the employers are judging you, so you want to make sure that you're looking the part. So if you're applying for a high-level professional job in an industry where wearing tailored suits are normal, showing up in anything less than that shows that you don't care about the standards that this employer is setting. Likewise, if you're applying to a job as a kindergarten teacher and you show up to an interview wearing club wear, you're demonstrating to that employer that you aren't really reading the situation correctly, and maybe you just don't care and you didn't put the time in. So there's that level of professionalism that you certainly want to be meeting. So dressing appropriately for work isn't simply a matter of looking professional, so to say, but it's also an indication that you recognize the norms and the standards that that employer is expecting you to meet. Even if you believe, like, most people believe they're going into a job interview being based or judged based on their talent and ability and not their appearance necessarily. But dressing appropriately for the situation shows that employer that you have respect, and that it shows that employer that if you're interacting with that employer's clients, that that employer knows they don't need to worry about you because you're going to always be putting your best foot forward and looking professional and representing the company the best way you can. So it's really important, really, really important that you are showing up looking professional. And then obviously, it shows confidence. When you dress the part, you throw on a suit, you throw on a nice blazer, you feel good. And that confidence, it shows. So, I mean, dressing professionally, it does give you a boost of confidence and it puts you in the right framework or the right state of mind. And it's even recommended that, even when you're doing a telephone interview, for example, that you dress the part because it still puts you in a proper mindset and it gives you that sort of professionalism, that feeling to that, you're in person, and that confidence can go a long way in an interview, especially even on the phone. So that's something that keep in mind when you're doing a phone interview. Yeah, it's easy. You can be wearing pajamas or whatever you wanted, really, but if you dress the part, you look good, you're feeling good, even though you're not in person with that employer, it still might it still might show or reflect that confidence and they'll be able to recognize that. So it's really, really important. And one of the biggest things too that I want to talk about, and it's the importance of why you should be dressing up for an interview, is the respect factor. So dressing in the right attire for an interview shows that you're serious about this job, you're respectful of the interviewer's time, and you're genuinely interested in the position. And it also demonstrates that you've done basic research on this company and you understand the culture, and you want to make sure that you're somebody who, is showcasing the fact that you're going to fit into that workplace dynamic. So I want to talk about that. So a large part of dressing to impress in an interview is learning about the company in advance and getting a feel for how they dress, what their workplace environment is like, what their culture is like. And based on the findings that you have or that you learn about when you're doing the research, it will give you a good impression. Um, and you want to step things up a notch. You want to make sure that you are leaving a good impression. So, for example, if you go to an interview and you know that that employer is pretty laid back environment, and jeans and button ups are pretty normal, that's what most people are wearing on a given day. Um, don't show up to the interviewer wearing jeans and a button up. Go the extra mile, take the extra step. Wear a blazer if you're a guy, wear a sport coat, wear a suit. Suits never hurt. You can always throw on a suit, and whenever you throw on a suit, it doesn't matter what you're interviewing for. You're going to look good, you're going to feel good, and the employer is going to recognize that and see that you're going the extra mile. And then obviously, eventually, if you do end up landing that position, you can alter your appearance to wear what sort of is normal in that workplace. So just keep that in mind. Um, I'll tell you a story. So when I graduated from school, my background was in marketing and advertising. And one of the agencies that I worked at prior to starting Swob was pretty laid back environment. You can go to work wearing a t-shirt and dress pant or t-shirt and jeans, and that was perfectly acceptable. And obviously, having done my research on the company beforehand, I knew that. But one of the things that I did was I threw on a suit, and I went to that interview, and I felt good, and I knew I looked good. And when I showed up for the interview, the employer looked at me and was blown away. And in his mindset, he thought, here's this guy showing up. He's wearing a suit, shows me that he has respect. He wants to go above and beyond, and he's going the extra mile. And he actually took the time to show that he cares. He took the time to to make sure that his appearance was good, his hygiene was good, and it showed that employer that I really did care, which I did. And so it's a big thing that a lot of people miss out on job opportunities because of what they're wearing. And they might have a great interview, they might knock it out of the park, but if you don't look good, how can that employer trust you when you're meeting with clients? It's difficult for them to put their faith in you when you're doing that. So these are always things that you should be keeping in mind. Um, it's so simple to throw on a suit, and there are so many resources available where if you need help, there are resources where they will help find you great clothes that you can wear during interviews and you'll feel good about yourself. So I know that this is something that seems obvious to most people. Most people might think or watch this video and think that I'm crazy for even suggesting something like this. Most people know that it's obvious that you should shower before an interview and have nice hygiene and smell good, and make sure you don't look like a complete slob, and have, if you're a guy, for example, make sure you have a trim beard or no beard at all for that matter. But this is something that happens time and time again, and it doesn't matter if you're interviewing for a cashier role at a McDonald's, for example, or if you're interviewing for something a little more professional. You always want to dress the part, go above and beyond, because the big thing is that it shows that you care. And in my opinion, I don't think you can overdress for an interview. Um, if you obviously are going crazy with your outfit, then it might not look good either. But there's so many things that you can do prior to the interview to make sure that you look good. Find some clothing, iron out your shirts, make sure everything is prepared properly, and you'll notice that you'll feel better. So normally, you're safer to dress professional than dressing casually. So, what I mean by that is, don't assume that because you're going for an interview where it's a more casual workplace environment that you can do that as well, where you can show up wearing jeans and a t-shirt, because that might be acceptable when you actually get hired, but you need to get hired first. And so if you're showing that you don't care, or maybe that not necessarily that you don't care, but you didn't put in the time to make sure that you're looking good. I don't know. They might think, well, if you're showing up to an interview wearing jeans and a t-shirt, what are you going to wear when you actually start working here? So, just keep that in mind. And there is something that's called the suit rule. So there's one common belief among hiring managers is that, there's no such thing as overdressing for an interview, but a suit is always acceptable. And most places encourage, or most schools and most post-secondary institutions uh, encourage graduates to wear a suit even for a casual dress environment. So what they mean by that is, even if you're going for a part-time interview somewhere, throw on a suit. And again, it shows that you take the job seriously. And if you're uncertain about what to wear for an interview, you know, professionalism is best. So keep that professional approach in mind, because that is what will help you make your first impression, and make sure you stand out, because again, your first impressions are key. And I want to also throw it back on you. If you go to an interview and you see that the employer on the opposite end looks like a slob, or maybe they don't care about their appearance, is that what you want to work at? Is that sort of what you want every day to be like? You want to be professional, because when you look good, you feel good. And I know that it's a cliche, but it's the truth. But the way that you dress for an interview is a really important role in your ability to land that position. So your appearance contributes to the first impression you make to that employer. And in general, if you want to dress, or you want to dress professionally in a way that confirms that you're not only capable of the role, but you're a professional employee that's going to fit into that company's environment. So I think we're at a good time right now. We're at about 13 minutes. I know that this was, again, it might seem obvious to a lot of people, but it's a topic that I thought was really important, that needed to be covered. A lot of people miss out on great job opportunities because of what they're wearing during interviews. And it's unfortunate, because a lot of these people have the talent, have the skills, and can work in these environments, but because they didn't take a shower and because they look like a slob, the employers just chose not to select these candidates. And it's unfortunate, because your talent and your abilities, yes, they are obviously important, and yes, they will go a long way in the employer's mind when they're determining whether or not to hire you. But it's harder for an employer to select you when you show that you don't care about your appearance in an interview. And if there's somebody else who's interviewing for a certain role, and they're on par with your skills and abilities, and they dress the part, look good, threw on a suit, we're feeling good, feeling confident, well, guess what? 9 times out of 10, that candidate is the one who's going to get the job. So keep that in mind. So I think the short takeaways for today are: look good, do some research on the company prior, see what their workplace environment is like, see what the culture is like, and even if it is a laid back environment, go above and beyond. Throw on a suit, wear a dress, um, make sure you're looking good, and take a shower. I know that it seems so obvious, but take a shower. Make sure you're smelling good. Make sure your hygiene is good, because so many people don't do it, and I've seen it on my end as well, where it's obvious. And so just make sure, throw on deodorant, maybe wash your hair, throw on some body wash. Again, it's silly to talk about, but it's important, because so many people miss out on job opportunities because of these steps. And if they had followed them, they would have had a job. So I want you to keep that in mind, because it is really important. And again, the biggest takeaway I think is from today's session is, this is the first thing the employer is going to judge you on. It's the first thing they see is what you're wearing, how you look. And when you look good, you'll feel good. And when you feel good, you're confident, and that will be shown to the employer, and the employer will recognize that. So please keep that in mind. Um, Now, again, I want to thank everyone who joined for this session. As always, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, or if there's certain topics you'd like to see covered, we always encourage our users and those joining to reach out, ask us questions. So you're more than welcome to send us an email at info@swobapp.com. If you have any concerns, questions, comments, we encourage you, please reach out. If you are looking for jobs still, there are a ton of opportunities available on Swob. You can download the app free in the App Store and Google Play. Employers are posting every day, and we're always encouraging the employers that we work with to reach out to candidates and make sure that they're giving opportunities. So if you're looking for a job, Swob is a resource, and it's free, and it will always be free. We will always be doing these on Mondays. So if you want to continue to join and learn some things along the way, you're more than welcome. And I hope everyone here has a great week ahead. And stay safe, everyone. And thank you for joining. Take care.